Coming up, our town's signature sound and one of the big bands that play it, the Kansas City Jazz Orchestra.
Also, the cool space that they perform in, the Kauffman Center, gets the once-over by a new national show that's all about architecture.
And an Australian filmmaker, Peter Weir, written about by Kansas City's own John Tibbetts. It's all ahead on The Local Show. Hi, I'm Randy Mason.
And I'm Nick Haynes. Welcome once again to The Local Show, this time filled with arts and architecture.
Yep, and we start with jazz, the musical style that Kansas City was and to some extent still is known for.
The Kansas City Jazz Orchestra is a 17-piece big band formed in 2003, comprised of some of the city's top players. They are musicians who come together 4 or 5 times a year to play concerts at the Kauffman Center.
So just who are these sultans of swing and what are they up to? To get the answers, we start with a little Woody Herman.
There's nothing like it. You can go listen to a combo and you can listen to the freedom of the combo, but we have that, and we also have the power at our disposal. So you get a much more varied concert than you can with a quartet, where there's 4 instruments. Well, there you go.
One of our concerts next season is the evolution of the big bands, and that was one of the first issues with, well, if we write out music for 15 people, is it still going to be jazz? Is it going to have the improvisational spirit? And of course, people like Ellington and Basie showed that, yeah, you can do that.
There's a sense that big band is kind of a nostalgia thing, but it's not really. All this great music gets played by different generations in a wonderfully different way, and so the music is always fresh. I think one of the remarkable things that's happened here is there have been so many great jazz educational programming going on. We got Bobby Watson over at UMKC. Clint Ashlock, our director, is highly involved with education. Gosh, I think just about every high school, middle school in the area has a jazz band. They play this music.
It's not surprising then that jazz education has become a bigger and bigger part of this big band's mission, which is why renowned trombonist Wycliffe Gordon could be found leading a master class in Hellsberg Hall on a Friday afternoon in March. Later that night, he returned to play a concert with the Jazz Orchestra, another in the long line of top-tier musical talent that has joined them on stage.
We've had some wonderful artists like Karin Allison has been here, Clark Terry has been here. I mean, that's just like a magic time for me. On my way to the Clark Terry concert, I called up my old high school buddy who plays trumpet, and I said, guess where I'm going? Said, I'm going to be sitting about 10 feet away from Clark Terry. Eat your heart out.
There aren't too many people that are deluded enough to decide to lead a big band. I really like sports, and so leading a band of this size is not unlike being the general manager of a sports franchise. You want to find people that can play and people that can fill certain roles, but you also really need good chemistry. And luckily for this group, which is pretty much the same people that Kerry had, he found people that have a really good chemistry.
The Kerry that Clint referred to is Kerry Strayer, band leader, baritone saxophonist, and prolific arranger. Strayer passed away in August after a battle with cancer.
Nobody wanted the situation to happen the way that it did, but I knew Kerry really well, and he was a great mentor of mine, and we had some time where we were able to work with it, and he left out just enough for me to continually be confused. Really should have copied all, but it's getting better. just trying to swing and make people feel good. That's our goal. Just everybody that comes out to listen to us play, we want them to go home feeling a little bit better about themselves and like they were able to take part in something that was all-inclusive and has the spirit of the music. And that's what has made jazz well, over a century now, is just the spirit.
You really have to get people out now again to hear this music live. I've listened to great music for 40 years in this town, and I had the bar tabs to prove it.
So whether it's a club or a private party like this one for some of the band's biggest boosters, Kansas City continues to offer more opportunities than almost anywhere in the country for purveyors of jazz to hone their craft. The result, says Doug Talley, is that the bar remains exceptionally high.
There's a soloist sitting in every chair, a seasoned jazz musician in every chair. When the chair turns over, you think really hard about who's going to take that chair, because that's going to change a little bit how the orchestra sounds.
We talk about this constantly. You know, just the depth chart in Kansas City, how deep it is. It's a beautiful thing. You can go out and hear world-class music every night of the week in Kansas City. It's very rare to be able to do that.
In the mellow tone.
Though this season's final concert, all Duke Ellington tunes like this one, goes down on Friday, next year's slate has already been mapped out. But the way Steve Irwin sees it, entertaining crowds in the Kauffman Center should be only a starting point for the organization.
We have Kansas City in our name. We have the greatest musicians in town playing for us. And we play that Kansas City big band swing sound like nobody else. I think our goal would like to become an ambassador of Kansas City. And that means if we could get support and funding, we could take this sound to the Newport Jazz Festivals, places around the country. But more than that, I'd like to take this orchestra overseas, to Paris, London, because we're carrying Kansas City's name, and people need to know.
One of the ways the Jazz Orchestra is working with the next generation is to spotlight them when they can. For Friday night's All Ellington show, they'll be preceded on stage by students from the Metropolitan Jazz Ensemble under the direction of Clarence Smith. They also sponsor a summer jazz camp featuring some of the players you just saw, like Doug Talley and Rod Fleeman. Also the great keyboardist Everett Devan. It's June 2nd through the 6th at Kansas City, Kansas Community College. Now, does the name Peter Weir mean anything to you? It didn't to me, but how about the year of Living Dangerously, Witness, Dead Poets Society, Green Card, or The Truman Show? Well, they're all movies directed by the somewhat reclusive Australian filmmaker. Kansas City author and KU film studies teacher John Tibbetts just released a book of interviews with Peter Weir, some conducted during a trip down under that he took in 2012. John stopped by to talk movies and this particular movie maker with Randy Mason.
We just heard some of the names of Peter Weir's movies, but I'm guessing a lot of folks still, if they're trying to crystallize in their mind who this guy is, don't have a great picture of him. John, is there some way you would categorize the films of Peter Weir to help people out?
Well, the first category is there's too few of them. He takes way too much time in between movies. Very, very picky. So you could almost forget about the guy from one film to the next. I mean, Master and Commander with Russell Crowe, a seafaring yarn. There was another 4 or 5, 6 years before his last film, Way Back, and that was about 4 years ago. So you have to go backwards a little bit. But the titles, they do strike a memory. You know, Dead Poets Society and The Truman Show and The Year of Living Dangerously, a number of Mel Gibson films like that, and Mosquito Coast and Harrison Ford pictures, Witness. So he's been all over the map in Australia and America. But darn it, make more movies. That's the rallying cry that we Peter Weir fans have been raising for years.
Was that what you were trying to take to him as you headed off down there?
One of the first things we did was sit down and talk about a script in progress, which is a bit of a coup that's in the book. He talked very freely about finishing a script And he said, well, you have to take a book and turn it upside down and let all the words fall out of it before you can begin to adapt it. And I think, how many authors might not be too happy to hear that? But the project never has gotten made. We're waiting.
Yeah. Well, he also told the scriptwriter, I'm going to eat your script. It's going to be part of my blood. That's quite a visceral quote.
This is a decidedly destructive character when you get right down to it. Making a movie for him really is a matter of turning everything inside out. Probably his crew, probably himself, and probably the viewers, because we come away from a lot of the films sometimes not quite sure what we've seen. Maybe a mystery has been unresolved. Maybe there's been a hallucinatory quality to some of it, so we're not sure if we can trust what we've just seen. But we're dazzled.
Well, he's not known for being the most outgoing of human beings, at least in relation to when we see stuff about movie news. Peter Weir does not usually rise to the top. I would think you'd have been apprehensive even going down there to find him in the first place.
He's very wary, very guarded. You don't see him unless he knows in advance you're going to see him. But I had met him in 1993. We did an interview on a film called Fearless. We hit it off. It worked out as a number of correspondences ever since. I did a painting of him that he signed. He liked that. And so when the time came for a sabbatical from the University of Kansas, hey, Pete, let's get together. You promised maybe we could meet again sometime. He took me up on it, invited me out, and I'll tell you, he proved to be anything but reclusive, anything but guarded, anything but forbidding, which, as you say, has been his reputation. I was delighted to find him the most accommodating of hosts. The first day I was there, he took me on a long car ride all around Sydney, former haunts. I learned a lot about Australian history, especially in Sydney. You know, Botany Bay and all that, that's where Australia got started, originally as a penal colony. So you find out real fast to study the work and person of a guy like Peter Weir is to really immerse yourself in fairly recent Australian history as it has emerged over the last 200 years.
And you saw Hanging Rock?
Oh, you bet. I experienced Hanging Rock. You don't just see it, you experience it. You climb up there onto those rocky slopes, and you realize how much of an innate mystery there really is in that bizarre volcanic rock formation. The site, of course, of maybe his still most famous film, Picnic at Hanging Rock. Another unresolved mystery.
One, enigmatic as all get out. I mean, there's probably few films I can think of that leave probably audiences more divided. Some who just, well, why did I watch that? And others who are really drawn into his detail and his sense of sort of foreboding, but not exactly sure where it's going.
But a beautiful foreboding. This is one of the most sumptuously, gorgeously photographed movies ever made by the great Russell Boyd, who I also met. So rarely has mystery and terror been so beautifully packaged, and that's another Weir trademark, you know. And the mystery remains, and Hanging Rock has become kind of a cottage industry now. There's a place there where you can go, there's a tourist area, and you can talk to people, there's video displays and all of this. Nobody can quite figure out if what happened at Hanging Rock really happened. Another mystery. But in Peter Weir's world, that's as it should be.
Well, there's an interview here with him, which you edited these. They're not all interviews that you did.
Yeah. While I was in Australia, I took advantage of meeting a number of associates, colleagues, buddies of his, and I got interviews and transcripts with them that had never been published before. And it strikes me, if you're going to do a book about an Australian filmmaker, maybe you should interview Australian people. Any book that's been out so far about him has not been able to make that kind of boast. And also interviews with his cinematographer, Russell Boyd. Ask me if I'm starstruck. I think so. An artist like Russell Boyd, to see what he does and to hear him talk about his craft, to take you into the workshop, share with you what he does, and how those marvelous effects on Hanging Rock, in Year of Living Dangerously, and in Master and Commander, how they did it. You know, the cinematographers, they know where the bodies are buried, and he and Weir have worked a long time together.
And in the Hollywood system of today, Peter Weir is not probably one of those go-to guys.
Probably by choice. He has chosen to remain in Australia after many sojourns in America. Unlike some of his colleagues, also from that new wave of Australian cinema, like Bruce Beresford and Fred Skepsey and Gillian Armstrong, these are people who kind of took up a partial residence in the States for good. Not Peter. He has his own farm near Sydney. He remains there. He's happy as a clam. Doesn't make much movies anymore. Well, we'll see.
But he's got a KU ball cap.
Oh, isn't that fun? He let me videotape a greeting to the KU students wearing the KU hat. And he has that hat still. And you know, I'll bet he wears that every day.
No doubt. It's a big hit while they're putting the shrimp on the Barbie.
Yeah, but I mean, he's an honorary Jayhawk, and the Jayhawk is such a bizarre creature in the first place. I think it's highly appropriate.
Well, you mentioned other books. Did you say 22?
Yeah. One coming out in just a few weeks about the great Douglas Fairbanks Sr. And I've also done books on music and on painting and on novels and on fantasy and science fiction. Yeah. All of them having film as a kind of core. Isn't that the nice thing about movies? They pinwheel you off into all of the other different art forms. And so you can kind of play hooky as you gamble about all of them. These are the kinds of things I like to do in my KU classes as well.
Well, I'm not going to say what year, but I took one of those film classes and picked up quite a few useful things. Are the students of today still, grabbing onto it like I think we did back in whatever decade that was I took it?
They're a lot more well-behaved than back in the day, if you'll recall. We both kind of come out of a Vietnam era sensibility, and students right now are pretty darn quiet. Should I be afraid? Very afraid? No, the campus is pretty well behaved. There's lots of motivation, maybe more interest in becoming filmmakers than film scholars, archivists, teachers, and critics. But hey, turn the crank of the camera and maybe riches will lie and come your way. So.
Well, this book out from the University Press of Mississippi.
Right.
Conversations with Filmmakers series.
Right, and a number of them now on Australian filmmakers, although this is the first such book about maybe Australia's preeminent filmmaker, Peter Weir. So I'm just so proud to have had that experience, and the KU sabbatical made it all possible, so I'm very grateful about that too.
Yeah. We're going to have to let you go here, but Peter Weir interviews edited by John C. Tibbetts.
And he's an honorary Jayhawk.
Wearing the colors proudly. Hey, thanks for coming down and joining us
on the
Local Show. Good
Appreciate
to have you.
it.
Earlier on The Local Show, we looked in on the Kansas City Jazz Orchestra playing in Hellsberg Hall. By any account, it's a very cool space.
A new public television show about architecture and design called Cool Spaces debuted this week on KCPT, and in its examination of performance spaces, spent a great deal of time examining the Kauffman Center.
Now, in case you missed it, here's a taste of what the Cool Spaces crew discovered on their visits to Kansas City and architect Moshe Safdie.
A performing arts building, a cultural building, is very, very central in the life of its city. Many cities build them, but for the particular city you're building it in, that's the big event. So the challenge has many kind of grades. Sound's terrific, the sight lines are terrific, the performers can operate effectively in it, it lends itself to the art, but that's not enough. You need the magic. What is the magic? The magic is when people are so excited to go there that they say, oh, I'm not going to watch this on my screen at home. I want to go there. I want to be there.
Good? Good, good. Good, good, and more good.
So count your sheep, mama, singing you to sleep with a moonshine lullaby.
Jane Chu, the president and CEO of the Kauffman Center since 2006, played an active role in the building process.
A building like this has the opportunity to stimulate a lot of activity in the community, and we have been a player in doing that. I call it the front porch effect, because let's say that somebody sweeps their front porch and the rest of the neighborhood looks over and says, he's sweeping his front porch, I should sweep mine too. And that's been a lot of the way this building has served as a catalyst.
And this is your favorite place?
It is, because when I look out at this Brandmeier Great Hall in the lobby, and it's filled with people, and they're coming to different performances, I get this sense that we are starting to fulfill our mission.
Isaac Franco, a principal of Softy Architects since 1980, was the project manager for the Kauffman Center.
You can see the city. You can see the people on different levels. So it's always dynamic and changing.
It's a grand entrance for sure.
We think of this building or this lobby as the kind of the front porch of this building.
Softy Architects has built significant buildings all over the world. They're known for their bold form-making, often with dramatic curves and geometrical patterns. They believe in enriching a community with vital social spaces. The creative process for these buildings begins with Moshe Softy's pens and colored pastels. Even as he travels across the world, these sketches allow him to flesh out a design.
What we were seeing is there was this sort of hill of downtown with all the towers that make up the downtown building, and the convention center with its little mask right there, and the district of the warehouse district that's in front of it, and we're looking at that, and that's the site.
How does the building work?
Well, it's actually three buildings. The two halls are independent structures. They have their own walls, their own roof, their own structure. Surrounding them is the tensile structure of the mass of the building, which contains the bars. But for acoustical reasons, we had to isolate the two halls completely from the rest of the building. So it's actually three buildings. As you can think of it as a stacking doll, a Russian doll, where one is inside the other. That's what it is here.
The Kauffman Center is situated on the edge of downtown, and there's the building. Now, the first notion was that the lobby of the building should be oriented towards downtown, which is here. But after seeing the sweeping views to the south, it became clear how best to organize the building. The building site is also on a hill. That made it possible to place underground parking into the slope of the hill, and you can see the extent of the parking. With parking below, the main floor level is elevated. And from that lobby, you get a panoramic view over the city which faces south, which means you get natural daylight all day long. Here's the east, there's the south, that's the west, and the sun is doing something like that, which is bringing natural daylight into that space all day long.
I wanted each hall to very much have its own presence. So if this is one hall, and this is the other hall, the concert hall, and this is the Proscenium Theater and the Opera House, then being side by side, each of them has its own identity. You can see that in this model. As they sit side by side, this reads as one instrument, this reads as another instrument. They're united or integrated together by this great glass stand.
Steel cables, which support a canted glass wall, create an enclosure to form a dramatic drop-off area. At night, a light at the base of each cable shoots a beam of light along its length.
The roof is bead-blasted stainless steel.
And what are the little dimples? I see a little...
The dimples are snow guards so that the snow doesn't slide off the roof in big chunks.
Pretty neat.
Yeah, it's an unexpected bonus to the roof because we didn't expect to have that glistening and that sparkle to the roof. But when we put the snow guard and with the sun coming in from the south, it does give you this sparkle, which is interesting.
You know what's very nice? I like this wispiness there. That's real fun.
And the play of the light and shadow on the side walls and on the roof is very interesting and exciting.
In most cases, the back of house of a concert hall or theater is blank, high walls with little visual interest. But Softy came up with a solution so that both sides of the building are equally interesting. When this project was commissioned, the idea was that the building would be oriented towards the north. That's where the city is. But instead, the architect, in a way, turned its back on the building. And the idea is that the lobby is facing the south. You have this wonderful porch which overlooks the rest of the city. And what does the city get? It gets this wonderful sculpture. Now, the sculpture, of course, has two different concert halls, and in between, you've got this slot of space. That slot of space leads people down the street from the city, through this entrance, and into the wonderful lobby. This is almost like a sculpture to me.
Well, it is. It's actually the most photographed side of the building. This side is more solid because it contains the back of house, contains the stage tower of the Proscenium Theater. Each of those bends are exactly the same radius. And we play with the idea of a precast vertical wall and a stainless steel curved roof. And it just tilted in a different plane. They basically rotate from a point down in the earth.
It's much nicer you did that, because I imagine if this was also the same material as the stainless steel, you would be totally different.
It would be completely different, yeah.
Cool Spaces, which has a different theme each week, is airing on KCPT at 10 p.m. on Tuesdays.
The crew actually filmed parts of another show in Kansas City while they were here. They also visited the Nelson Atkins Museum. That segment is scheduled for May 20th.
You can actually see other excerpts from the show and learn more about the 6-part series on our website, kcpt.org.
And that is it for this week's edition. Next week on The Local Show, the Negro Leagues Museum and the Storms of Springtime.
We'll see you then.